Hello and welcome to Pest in Class, expert voices in pest management. This year at Ignite Field Routes User Conference, I got to sit down with two companies who are changing the game in employee retention and success. Chris Anderson of Applause and Kevin Burton of Enzy. This episode is all about bringing the fun and incentives to your employees. I'm your host, Amanda Salvatore. Let's get into it. Chris Anderson, you are the VP of Sales with Applause. Thank you so much for coming onto the podcast
Absolutely.
today.
Thanks for having us. We're excited.
Amazing. So we always start with an icebreaker, a little get to know you.
I like it. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. So what music are you listening to right now?
Oh, man. So a kick right now that I'm on is Morgan Wallen, country singer. We actually went to go see him in Las Vegas with my wife. I had my doubts, but man, the guy's an entertainer. Like, he just really gets the crowd going. Great music, country. So that's what
I have to tell you, I just heard a song by him the other day.
Okay.
So I actually know who you're talking about, and
fantastic.
I'm thrilled. Sometimes I don't know, and I'm like, check that out.
Yeah,
I got to make a playlist, right?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Awesome.
I'm so glad you had a good time.
Yeah, it was
that's
a great
always
time.
good. I love a pleasant surprise.
Good.
So I know you're in sales, but what is it about the pest industry specifically that you admire?
Oh, man. Just the blue collar workers here. I mean, these guys are just grit, hardworking. Like, they're out there with their guys running the pest control trucks. They're doing the services themselves. And that's who we get to interact with a lot, is just the owners, right? And they just have such a passion for the industry and a passion for their people, right? They put a lot of effort into making sure they have good experiences. They develop good culture. And that just really resonates with me as, an entrepreneur and a business builder. I like to create a culture that people want to be a part of, right? No toxicity, nothing that's going to make them go to the guy down the street. So that's really what I admire about them. Their focus on their technicians and their employees, as well as the care that they take for their customers.
This is perfect because it leads me on to my next question. This episode is all about supporting and engaging your employees and translating that to more sales opportunity.
Sure.
So how does Applause achieve this?
Yeah. So what we found is that there's a lot of things that we want out of a business. There's a lot of results that we're after, right? We want better customer satisfaction ratings, right? We want better customer retention, which ultimately leads to more opportunities on referrals or Google reviews that can get us better customer acquisition. But it all stems from kind of this core issue is, are our technicians providing a service that's worthy of a referral, right? Are they providing a service that's worthy of that 5-star review that we're asking for? Because anybody can ask for a review, but are the technicians incentivized enough to provide a service that is going to lead into more growth for our business, that's going to lead our customers to start talking to their friends about our services? So that's what we try to hone in on is, incentivizing the team through financial incentives, but they're tied to business metrics and, business initiatives that are actually going to move the needle, that are going to produce this kind of growth. Because we don't want to just throw out spiffs and bonuses and incentives to the technicians when it doesn't do anything for the business, but we're happy to do it when it is making an impact on the business, on their growth. That's where I think we can make the most impact, is focusing on the technicians, making sure that the incentives are aligned with them, so that they want to provide great service, which ultimately leads to more customers, more referral opportunities. Yeah. So that's how I think we do it.
Tell our listeners what this looks like.
Yeah. Ultimately, our tool and our system is built around the technician, right? The core issue of our technicians' incentives aligned with what the business wants out of them. So what we do is we measure them, right? Where there's a number of different metrics on the technician side of things that we can do to measure. So we'll send out an automated text message to the customer to ask the customer what they think of the technician's performance. So 0 out of 10, how did they do? But if they give it 10, that should be a qualifier for the technician to receive some kind of credit, right? Some kind of accolade. So what we did is we built a digital wallet that allows us to deliver cash incentives to the technician once a customer gives a 10 rating, 0 out of 10, 10 being kind of the highest, if they did a good enough job. So what this is doing is it's kind of conditioning the behavior of the technician to be more in line with providing a great experience, because they know if they create a great experience for the customer, ultimately that means more money for them, more incentive for them. So that's the first step in the process there, is we tie a financial incentive to a metric that is meaningful to the business, but it can also indicate the technician's performance. The next thing that we do is we actually ask the customer to incentivize the technician for us by asking for a potential tip. Now, this is a voluntary system that we can incorporate into our tool, but what it does is it creates this carrot dangling at the end of every service, right? If they do a good enough job, if they close the gate, if they collect the dog toys before they spray, or they go, give a handshake to the customer, all the things that we want the technician to do, they could potentially get a tip, which increases their wages. So now they're incentivized to provide, again, a great service, which is what we want out of them as like the owner of the business, and ultimately leading to better customer experiences, better customer retention, better customer satisfaction. And then from there, we actually prompt for a Google review after we've asked for the tip. And the Google review, lifeblood of any home service business. But again, we want to tie it back to the technician in some way, because it was because of their service that led to our opportunity to convert on this 5-star review. So we say, customer, our technician put a lot of work in, right? If you give us a 5-star review letting us know that they did a fantastic job, we as a company, or ABC Pest Control, is going to bonus them $5, $10, whatever this is. And this is a system that's in place in a lot of companies right now because it's a great incentive tool, but it's very manual in nature, right? I have to go to Google, I have to match the technician that was associated to that Google review. But what we've done is taken a step further and automated to a point where our algorithm will automatically identify the technician associated with the Google review and automatically deposit $5, $10, whatever it is, into this technician's digital wallet. And the idea behind this is we wanted an immediate way to show, appreciation to the technician, so they're getting this drip campaign throughout their day of positive feedback tied to financial incentives, while being aligned with all the business initiatives that we have around Google reviews, customer satisfaction, customer retention.
Do you have any success stories that you could share with us about implementing a system like this?
Yeah, absolutely. For example, we have White Knight Pest Control. White Knight was one of our early adopters, and they weren't using our system before, but we got some really good case study data out of them when they started using us. So on the Google review side of things, they did about 27,000 services in 1 month. They were able to convert about 91 reviews total out of those, 191 reviews out of those 30,000 services, which is by any standard pretty good. 2% conversion on that total amount, which is fantastic. When they turned on Applause, they noticed that their technicians started providing better service, so they qualified for more 5-star reviews. And then the technicians started talking to the customers, hey guys, this is what I did. This is the service that I did. I actually went above and beyond on this thing. I put the cherry on top. So ultimately, when the customer received that option to leave a Google review, they knew they were helping the technician, so they're more inclined to do it. And then White Knight saw a huge increase of about 7x. We're on 30,000 services in the next month. They converted over 1,300 Google reviews.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So 191 on the similar amount of services to 1,300, 7x increase. It was super impactful for them.
That's a great story. Now, I know that Applause is having an integration with field routes. What does that look like?
Yeah, so in order to automate this whole thing so we take more off the plate of these hardworking technicians, we don't want to add just another thing to their to-do list, right? So the integration with field routes allows us to identify when a service is completed. It allows us to know who was recently served and allows us to know who the technician was that did the servicing. So all of those components and data points allow us to identify when we need to send a message out to the customer when the service is completed, because that's usually the best time to convert on any kind of information that we're trying to get from them. 2, we've got the technician information, so now we can allocate all of those things that the technician has done based upon what the customer is telling us, and we give that credit back to the technician. So that's a great data point for us to pull from the field routes integration. But ultimately, that's about as simple as it gets. So it allows us to identify the customer, send out a notification once a service is completed because we get that trigger, and then ultimately attribute everything that the technician did on that service back to them.
What would be your advice to a owner who wants to implement this and make it a part of their company culture?
Ultimately, it's try it out. So we offer a lot of options when it comes to just testing it, because we are very confident that you're going to see a value within a very short period of time. So if you want, reach out to us and we can pilot it, and you can put us against any other kind of review solicitation tool that you're currently using, so you can have a true apples to apples comparison of what the value is going to be of the product. So that would be my recommendation.
Awesome. And finally, what are 2 best practices for motivating a team?
Instant recognition, right? We live in this world of, social media where we want that instant recognition. We want those likes, we want those thumbs up, and we need that kind of validation, especially the generation that's coming into the workforce right now where they're accustomed to immediate, delivery or immediate satisfaction upon completion of something. So that would be my one recommendation is in the moment that somebody does something, you want to create that Pavlov's dog effect, right? You can't say a week later that, oh, that was a great thing that you did back in last week or whatever it was. It's, hey, you did something great right now. I want to reward you for it so that I condition you to want to do it in the future. So look for those moments where you can immediately reward your team in the moment, and then have great tools that are tracking the performance and the KPIs of those individuals, right? If we're not tracking or measuring things that are aligned with our business objectives, then ultimately we're bonusing things without knowing what the impact can be. So have great tools when it comes to collecting the data on, the performance metrics that are important to your business, and try to reward those behaviors in the moment so that it, has a lasting impact on the behavior change.
Chris Anderson, thank you so much for taking the time to come on Pest in Class. This was great. Thank you.
This was fantastic. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Kevin Burton, you are the Manager of Business Development for Enzy. Thank you so much for coming onto the podcast today.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
I'm really excited to get into it. But first and foremost, we always got to start with an icebreaker here on Pest in Class.
Yes.
So yours is music. What are you listening to right now?
I am listening to strictly what my fiance listens to, which is our Lord and Savior Taylor Swift.
Absolutely.
We strictly play her in the car. We play her at home. She's our gal. We love Taylor.
What's your album?
Oh wow, you put me on the spot with this one.
It's hard.
I think I'd have to say and I might butcher this, so I might get in trouble later. But I think it's Midnights.
I'm with you.
I have too many Swifties in my life that if I mess that up, they're gonna kill me. But I'm pretty sure it's Midnights.
That is the title?
I do like the old Taylor though too.
Yeah.
I'll go back to the Tim McGraw days. I'll go back to the actual country Taylor. But yeah, I think Midnights is the one.
That's my personal favorite as
Nice.
well. You're in good company. Good company. So I know that you are a bit of an outsider to the pest control industry, but what is it about pest that you admire?
Yeah, great question. Totally an outsider. The grind, honestly. So I come to a lot of these trade shows, speak with a lot of direct sale companies, right? Not just pest, but solar and roofing. And it's really interesting to hear these people and what their day-to-day looks like. And it's something that I could never do. So I respect the grind of getting on the doors, taking your entire summer, which is what people value, right? Mm-hmm. And getting away from your family and hitting that grind. I know it's a cliche word, but I love talking to the people here and realizing, hey, you've sacrificed a lot to come and do this. And it's really impressive. So I think the grind is one thing that just always sticks out to me about the pest world itself and just door-to-door sales in general.
Within the pest control industry, very often there is this idea of gamification, healthy competition. Mm-hmm. So there are some folks who've never heard of that term before. So what is it and how does it help elevate a business?
Totally. Yeah. And that's exactly where Enzy comes into play. And we'll get to that, I'm assuming. But gamification has been around for a long time. We, as humans, are naturally competitive. We naturally like to see where we stack rank with our peers and our people, whether it be, in school growing up or at recess or whatever it might be. Gamification is simply bringing that into whatever workplace environment you belong to. In this instance, right, with the direct sales space, it's having leaderboards, right? Saying, hey, what are these metrics or these things that you want to measure, and saying, hey, we want to bring competition to that and see where people can kind of raise to the occasion, if you will. So gamification is bringing what we already do as human beings, is kind of comparing ourselves and trying to get better and seeing how we, interact with everyone else and bringing that to a work environment, which is really fun. So it kind of snowball effects, right? It brings this instance of, I want to have fun and create this game, but I also want to be competitive. I also want to see where I rank, but I also like what I do. And I want to, retention goes up. I want to stay at this company because I like these games that we're doing. I like being incentivized if I win the game. So it's got this snowball effect with your organization that just booms everything. It's really cool.
Let's talk about motivating teams. What are the challenges that owners are facing when it comes to creating this healthy competition amongst their employees?
Sure. You have to be very aware of the different groups of people you have, right? Contrary to what I just said, not everyone's as competitive as we'd like them to be, and some are extremely competitive. And you have to find this balance of what's going to work for my office manager as opposed to my sales manager, or what's going to work for someone out in the field or someone who's doing recruiting, right? So you have to be really imaginative about what these games or these competitions look like so that you're reaching out to the right people and getting the right motivation for them to want to do it, right? So you have to be kind of thinking outside the box and thinking of, well, what's gonna motivate Amanda or what's gonna motivate Kevin in terms of helping them do their job better and want to be incentivized. So that's probably the biggest challenge, is you have so many different groups of people within your organization that you have to figure out what makes them click, what's exciting for them, what's the thing that's going to bring them to say, hey, I want to wake up and like do my job incredibly today so that I can win or get to whatever level. Yeah. So that's kind of the tricky part, is understanding personality.
Really navigating who you have on your team and how you use this tool.
Yes.
So let's talk about Enzy. Tell our listeners what it is and how it supports this idea.
For sure. So Enzy is exactly that. We are gamifying the workplace. Our work motto is the Enzy effect mixed with a high performance culture. That's what we want to drive. That's what we want to do. And we know a lot of these pest control companies are already doing that within their organization. They just might not be doing it as well. So we want to bring a software to them that allows them to gamify, incentivize, reward, all in real time. So with a leaderboard that's active, we kind of have a social media aspect to it where you have kind of a baseball card of your picture, what you've won. You have certain badges that you can see under your name that are applicable to the company's values and metrics. And it's fun to jump on there and see, hey, like I'm climbing the leaderboard in sales, or I'm climbing the leaderboard in whatever metric I'm being measured on. And I can open my Enzy app and see how I'm doing there. So we're just trying to build this culture and help you retain employees and incentivize and reward all in one spot.
I have to ask, are there any games or competitions that you have seen that seem to create the most success?
Ooh, that's a really good question. Everyone's so different, right? It goes back to my point of saying, this imagination that people have, because really the world's your oyster when you create any type of game, right? We've seen people create games around just top sales for the month or top sales for the quarter or a year or what it might be. We've had games around certain regions or teams going against each other. Even games around recruiting. Hey, how many people can you recruit? How many people can you get on? So really the world's your oyster in terms of what the game looks like. But I'm trying to think of one that really comes to mind that stands out. I don't have one off the top of my head, but everyone's so different. That's what's cool, is that we see all these games come in, and the coolest part is the rewards, right? The incentives. Trips to Cabo, Louis Vuitton bags, Lululemon shirts or shorts, whatever it might be, you name it. An iPad, a Nintendo Switch, a PlayStation, you name it. It's really cool to see these people come up with ideas to incentivize. But the games themselves are always so fun.
I have to ask also, what about your job? You have so much personality.
Thank you.
You have so much fun. I feel like you are the right person for this job. You really elevate and showcase what the product can do.
Sure.
What is it about your job, coming to trade shows, talking with individuals? What motivates you? What gets you excited?
Yeah, Enzy does, right? At the end of the day, what I'm bringing to the table and I guess selling to these people is something that I love, right? That competition, that motivation, that incentivizing of human beings is exciting to me. That's really fun. It's easy to talk about, right? It goes back to when Rob stepped into our booth and did our grip strength, right? He loved seeing where his score was. He jumped into looking at the leaderboard, wanted to beat the next person. And that's what we see. We see people coming back over and over to see where they rank and to see what they do. And that's describing Enzy, right? They're selling Enzy for us by coming back to our booth and trying these fun games that we do. So for me, it's something easy for me to sell because I love talking about it. And I love seeing people light up and try and beat the next person and come back and back and back to see where they're at.
Incredible. Is there anything that you wish we got to talk about today before we go?
No, I think you did awesome. Yeah,
I think you did great. Did awesome.
Yeah, that was super fun. No, I loved it. Yeah, I love talking Enzy, love talking the pest world, and it's been fun. Thanks so much.